Hey everyone, Craig Warwick here, back with a review of the Iron Man AI Marvel Legends figure. To be honest, I've not been picking up a whole lot of Marvel Legends figures in recent times, so why pick up this guy, Craig? I hear no one ask. Well, let's talk it through and see if I can try and understand my own buying habits a bit more easily and help you figure out if it's a figure worth having. But first of all, here's a little background on the character. As the result of a battle with Captain Marvel, Tony Stark falls into a coma and an artificial intelligence holographic version of him comes online to help mentor the new hero, Riri Williams, Ironheart, coming soon to a Marvel Legends shelf near you. An almost perfect representation of Tony's personality and mind. Unfortunately, in some regards, the AI projects itself into Tony's classic armour at times to aid the Avengers. And that's what we see here. The AI is represented by this holographic blue head on this classic armour body. The head sculpt is good, and while I initially thought it was going to be reused from the all-new, all-different Iron Man, it's actually a brand new sculpt. I was wondering why Hasbro wouldn't just reuse that head and cast it in clear blue, but my thinking is that because that head is actually a two-part mould, one for the head itself and a separate piece for the hair, that this would make the use of transparent blue plastic problematic for it. So anyway, we get a brand new head sculpt cast in translucent blue plastic. The Marvel Legends team could have left it at that, but they've also gone a little bit of extra distance here, and I really appreciate the additional paint apps to bring some of the details out. I really do have a weird love for translucent plastic figures, but I have to admit that the see-through plastic has a habit of obscuring all of the sculpted detail. This was a bit of an issue with the Human Torch figure where none of us could really make out the great facial expression the sculpt had, so bringing out some of that detail on Tony really does help elevate this. This isn't the first time the Marvel Legends team have done this, I have to point out, as I recall this being done to great effect to make the Astral Doctor Strange from the Book of Vishanti set stand out as well. Just as an aside, it looks like we'll be seeing this technique used again in the upcoming holographic Iron Man figure. Ugh. The neck peg is solid red plastic, however, and it does show through the back of the head, but it's not as bad as I feared it might be. I guess the choice here was to either use a solid red neck peg and have the red show through at the thinnest parts of the plastic, or to have used a translucent blue neck peg, but that would have made the neck disc blue as well, which would be really jarring. I think they made the right choice here. The rest of the figure is Tony's Mark IV armour, you know, the one that's been the go-to vision of classic Iron Man for about 60 years now. This is of course the same body that we received as the Anniversary Iron Man figure, which I was a huge fan of, and we've seen quite a heavy bit of reuse of parts of it since then in various other Iron Man and Friends figures. There was an assembly issue with the Anniversary Iron Man where his upper arms had been put on the wrong sides, but that's fixed here, and indeed has been fixed in every use of these parts since that original. Now, let's talk about the colour scheme, which for me was the most off-putting thing about this figure. I've since learned to like it, so if you'll indulge me, when I first saw this, I just thought it wouldn't fit in with my other Iron Man figures at all. They all have a metallic look to them, and this one's flat, simple colour scheme didn't really go with that. With this being the AI Tony Stark, a pretty much exclusively comic book character, I thought, well, I guess this is a comic book style colour scheme. While the character does appear in art with this kind of colour scheme, it's always representational of actual gold or metal, so this plasticky look still didn't work for me. A comment on my Instagram though helped me come at it from a different angle, and now I don't see this as a comic armour, but as an action figure homage, in particular to the Secret Wars Iron Man. I would actually love to have seen this figure come on retro style card. I know we probably couldn't get Secret Wars style card, but the Marvel Superheroes card would have suited this figure really well, and I think this figure would have looked better than that neoclassical one we actually got on the retro card. So in my mind, this figure goes right alongside the retro line of figures rather than my other Iron Man armours. Beyond the main colour scheme, the key paint differences between this and the Anniversary figure are the blue colouring of his monobeam port and his... I still don't know what these are called, so repulsor titties they shall be. This figure doesn't have the paint apps to the repulsor ports in the palm of his closed fists like the Anniversary figure did, but those were a mess anyway, so they're not missed here. Accessory-wise, TonyStark.jpg comes with an alternate mast head. It's the same as one of the heads we got with the anniversary figure, done in this retro paint scheme with blue light shining through from behind the mask. It looks great on the body and really completes that retro figure look for me. The additional heads from other recent Iron Man figures do swap onto this body well, so you could even have a very 90s roadie in this armour if you wanted. How awesome would it be though if we got a proper 80s roadie head sculpt to add to the Iron Man armour? In fact, while you're at it, give us a 90s Tony mullet head to put on that upcoming modular Iron Man 2 Hasbro. The all new, all different head is a little small and a struggle to force on, but it can fit on there too. He also comes with alternate repulsor blast hands and translucent blue blasts to peg into them. We sure are getting these in every colour. His final pack-in is the leg of the Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure. I might be able to pick him up on the secondary market at some point, but for now I'll have to pass. The figure sizes up well with other Marvel Legends releases and feels substantial in hand. Articulation is unchanged from what we are used to with this Iron Man body. The head rotates and looks up and down this much. There's rotation at the shoulders and they hinge up this far. There's rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbows that give us a little over 90 degrees of bend. Rotation at the wrists and a hinge on his fists, but none on the repulsor port hands, which is something I wish they'd improve. His ab crunch bends this far forward and back. There's rotation at the waist. His legs kick this far forward. There's no movement to the rear, but who cares? They move this far out to the side with the power pods on his hips flexing out to the side so as not to block that. There's rotation at the top of the thigh. A double jointed knee with a great range of motion. Rotation at the top of the boot. Hinges at the ankles and ankle rockers, meaning, as the legend goes, this is as wide as possible stance, still with both feet flat on the floor. So that's Tony Stark AI, or as he's going to be for me, retro action figure homage Iron Man. Like I said at the start of the review, I was absolutely not a fan of this figure when I first saw it, but after seeing it from a retro figure homage standpoint, it actually makes me smile to look at it now, and you know, that's something that's really important. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the review, and remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Wherever I see you next, take care of yourself and remember, pour on the power. Bye bye.